high voltage power line in Ohio brushed against an overgrown tree, causing a power system already under stress and high heat to start a cascading series of failures. An alarm system in Ohio failed, more trees sagged into power lines, the system became overtaxed, and 8 northeastern states and southeastern Canada felt the impacts. Some areas were without power for 2 days. Others, like in the capital region, lost power for a few hours. The cause of the outage wasn't known right away, though, but the impact on people in the capital region was felt right away. Here's Lindsay Cohen's story from that day.
In Green Island Thursday afternoon, confusion in the streets. Yellow blinking lights, a warning sign to drivers that traffic signals, like almost all things in the area, weren't running like usual. Cops commanded cars at some of the busier intersections in Troy, while in Loudonville, drivers were greeted with gridlock at the gas station.
Now I'm in that mode right now, getting gas. My husband's going to get a generator, getting more water, just because we don't know how long it's going to last.
And in Albany, customers tried cajoling their way into stores that were closed.
There's no way I can get the birthday cake.
I'm sorry. No. Sorry, we're closed. We're closed, guys.
While at the Westview home, senior citizens stuck out the outage by heading outdoors. Many looked at the silver lining amidst the emergency.
You cook by electric and everything's electric, so it's going to be a little tough.
Did you have dinner yet?
Not yet.
What are you going to do about dinner?
I don't know. And the restaurants around here are all closed too. So I'll lose a little weight.
Lindsay Cohen, News Channel 13 today.
Businesses felt the pressure, but some persevered to make sure people were fed. Elizabeth Scarborough reports.
It's a rare sight. Colony Center, dark and quiet. No cars and no business. They were one of many local stores that called it quits when the blackout hit. This Hannaford and Colony closed around 5 o'clock. Since, they've been trying desperately to save their store from disaster. One worker said they're dealing with a lot of loss. Produce, meats, deli, dairy, and frozen foods, all dependent on power. They're also losing customers during the after-work rush. Black signs, dark store windows, and no street lights. That's what you'll find here on Wolf Road in Colony. This blackout is leaving businesses here in the dark.
Somebody got to take care of the people,
One Wolf Road business refused to shut down. Here at Zy Pizza, they continued making pies in the dark. They worked by candlelight, the ovens fueled by gas. But this brave business owner says he'll still lose in the end if his cheeses go bad. And stores like this Stewart's in Albany stayed open, hoping for power before it was too late. For them, losing perishables means losing a lot in profit.
We have over 300 stores in the Northeast. So you're talking a couple $1,000s each store. It's about $600,000.
Some lights came back on. Crossgates closed due to darkness, but once again it saw the light. Major losses there will be in customers who stayed home. Without a doubt, this blackout has been bad for business. Just how bad, we'll have to wait and see. Elizabeth Scarborough, News Channel 13.
Neighbors came together to help each other out as leaders tried to minimize the risks and figure out how this happened. John Allen reports.
About 10 million New Yorkers were among the many millions more experiencing this massive power failure. But as Governor Pataki candidly admitted at his press conference,
I don't know the cause of the outage. I don't think anyone can tell you that at this point. We've heard reports that it was caused by a transmission problem originating in Ontario and Canada.
Whatever the cause, the governor reassured New Yorkers that every healthcare facility in the state, including hospitals and nursing homes, did have adequate power.
The effort to restore the power is immense and is being done statewide, but I am advised we cannot just independently of the Northeast grid begin to put significant parts of the state back on power.
Those efforts, at least in parts of the capital region, began to pay off. By 9:10 this evening, nearly all of Albany County had power restored, exceptions being parts of the city of Albany and the town of Colony. And those with power were willing to help those without.
I called a number of my friends to check and see if they had power, and said they could bring their food over and put it in my freezer, or just come out if they didn't want to stay in their dark house.
But even as power is restored, the governor asked New Yorkers to conserve as the power grid is stabilized.
To disconnect all unnecessary appliances. We're obviously going to be dealing with an emergency for some time.
And that will be a test for many New Yorkers as temperatures are expected to climb to near 90.
And eventually, leaders did figure out the cause. Governor George Pataki was not pleased. Bill Lambden reports.
This morning in Guilderland, the CEO of the New York Independent System Operator fixed the location and general cause of the problem.
This was caused by these oscillations that came from the Midwest.
Earlier in the crisis, other government or industry officials had suggested the problem began at Niagara Falls or someplace in Ontario or at a Con Ed plant in New York City. Until one location is fixed, obviously investigators won't be able to analyze in detail what caused this. But officials say eventually there will be answers.
There are some tough questions that have to be answered. This should not have happened. We were told it was not going to happen, and at this point we still don't know where or why this happened.
I've been in contact with NERC, the North American Electrical Liability Council, who sets the standards for electrical liability in this country. They are initiating an investigation which will include all of the affected utilities and system operators.
Out of the 50 million people impacted by this, 11 died. And this was not the only blackout New York has seen. There was one in 1965, and New York City experienced another one in 1977. That one saw looting and fires. Here's our coverage from that event.
For the most part, the city was calm when the lights went out around 9:30 last night. Hospitals switched to emergency power. People eating at restaurants simply added more candles for atmosphere. High-rise dwellers decided to hoof it up the stairs when they discovered the power wasn't coming back on for a while. And suddenly, a pedestrian force of traffic cops popped up out of nowhere and voluntarily moved cars and buses along using flashlights as guides. But then later in the evening, looting started, and over 2,000 people were picked up on the streets.
As soon as the lights went out about, say, 9:30 or so, there was widespread looting. People took advantage of it right away. I mean, they knew which stores to hit, like appliance stores, small things that they could carry. As you see, they broke the windows. As soon as they broke the windows, they went in. Everybody had a field day. Whatever they could carry, they carried out.
One of the reasons for the blackout to nearly 3 million homes and businesses was a massive power loss from 2 of Con Edison's generating plants, and because extra power from upstate New York couldn't reach the city area. The New York Power Pool is supposedly the backup system for New York. It was built shortly after the 1965 blackout to guarantee that that kind of power failure wouldn't happen again. But a failure did happen, and the major culprit was weather.
Bill, what were the weather conditions last night when that storm hit down near Indian Point?
Right on up to around 9:30 to 10 o'clock, we did have very severe weather, particularly down in the lower Hudson Valley. The one that really knocked out the power struck down in the Westchester Putnam Valley area there just prior to 9:30, and we were following it on our radar here, and it was a very intense storm. Right now we are in a cycle that about every 4 to 5 days we are having another frontal system or another batch of thunderstorms moving on through that again could possibly hit a generator or the transformer sending the power to your home. But the likelihood of a complete blackout like they had down there in New York, I would say would be 1 chance in 1,000 to occur again.
These are the 8 power lines that dropped out of service last night because of the weather. Some were struck by lightning. Others were overloaded and automatically closed. With these lines gone, no upstate power could reach the city. Then, to make things even worse, lightning knocked out the Indian Point and Ravenwood plants. No power, no lights, and no way of getting help from the outside.
You've got plenty of power in the pool now, enough power to supply the demands of the city. Why can't you go in right now and just let that power go in? What would happen if you did?
After the length of time that the interruption, customers have been out of service, just as soon as service is restored in an area, you get a major inrush of current that all the appliances that have been waiting, air conditions have been waiting to come on, will come on all at one particular time, and this would result in tripping the transmission system out of service. And I think you have to realize that restoration of service is a major job in that you have to disconnect major pieces of the load from the bulk transmission and from the substations before you can connect it one piece at a time, and this takes time to disconnect it. And this is an occurrence which is one of those things of a possible but not probable occurrence, and this, due to nature and a lightning storm, occurred.
What everyone wants to know is, could this power knockout have been avoided? Well, the answer from electrical engineers at the top is no, unless, of course, you can build a system that can withstand million-volt electrical lightning charges. But could power have been restored quicker? And are the backup systems adequate? That's what Mayor Beam and Governor Kerry want to know. That's why they're calling for a full investigation. This is Al Rochelle, Newswatch 13 in Albany.
We will continue to bring you coverage from historical events, pulling our stories from the News Vault. To find previous stories we've covered, head to our YouTube page and click on News Vault. For now, opening News Vault 13, I'm Rachel T.